We are moving on now to our Nurse Innovator Demo Day. I want to tell you a little bit about this. We all know that frontline healthcare workers are extremely innovative. They need to be quick, thoughtful, and agile in their work every day. They are truly on the front line. The nature of the work of nurses and other healthcare professionals is innovative. It requires that they think quickly, that they act in a creative and flexible manner, and they respond to everyday situations that arise. We often think of doctors spending a lot of time with patients, but it's really our nurses and other frontline healthcare workers that spend the bulk of time with patients. The purpose of this Nurse Innovator program is to bring creative ideas from frontline healthcare workers into the market that will support healthcare professionals in their work while improving patient quality of care. By working with the frontline healthcare workers, like nurses, we're bringing new innovators into the entrepreneurial landscape and giving them skills and opportunities to develop their innovative ideas. What we're presenting today is a result of our pilot program, our Nurse Innovator Accelerator. This is not a traditional pitch event, since most of the products you will see are in the ideation or the design stage. This is a pilot program funded by a grant from the Workers Lab and the SBA Lab to Market Visionary Award for the Nurse Innovator Accelerator. It's a joint program of the MCA Innovation Center, Fab Lab El Paso, and Fab Lab Juarez. This was an 18-week virtual program, and we're really excited today that we're presenting 6 project ideas created by 9 innovators. All participants in the program are employed full-time, 7 of them as nurses and or nurse educators, who have, in addition to the program, worked long hours during the COVID-19 pandemic. This pitch event is not the end of the program for these participants. They and their project ideas will continue to be supported by the MCA Innovation Center as we work with them through the product design and development process. We're really proud of our innovators, and we're going to go ahead and get started now. Each pitch will last about 3 minutes, and we're going to have 2 minutes allocated for feedback and questions from our keynote speaker, Ryan. So let's get started with Luis Ochoa, who we've seen in MCA programs a lot. I'm excited to see what Luis has to present today.
Hello, Emma. Nice seeing you, Ryan. Nice to meet you online. Well, I'll be presenting let me start sharing my screen. Okay, perfect. So my name is Luis Ochoa. I'm representing Gold Product Development, and I'm here to talk about the horizontal air blade novel disinfectant dryer. And the main, hold on. Oh, I need to go back to the. Okay, the main problem that we're trying to fix is the inefficiency of drying hands and disinfecting your hands in public bathrooms. And this also brings another problem, which is the excessive usage of paper towels. And considering that this paper cannot be recycled, this is a lot of waste that we're creating. And at the same time, 95% of, using paper towels in the bathrooms, it's 95% more expensive than using a hand dryer. And I'm pretty sure all of us have seen this, the image, right? A lot of bathrooms with all those papers on the floor. But then it comes another problem. It has been proven that hand dryers disperse germs throughout rooms, the entire rooms. And even after HEPA filters are installed inside the dryers, they don't take care of the germs growing outside the system. And the water mess is also another problem that we see sometimes with all these dryers, right? Just like on the image that we're looking at. And another problem is that some of these hand dryers are not disabled people or kids friendly, right? Because the position of your hands, you need to put your hands vertically. So this is another problem that we see sometimes. And then our solution consists of a device that will still use the air blade system that has been proven to work very good to dry your hands. But now positioning your hands horizontally. It will also have a receptacle to contain all the water spills. A disinfectant dispenser system will be embedded into the device. The disinfectant will also help clean the device and killing germs that remain on the surfaces of the device. And this device will guarantee to step out of the bathroom with your hands dried and disinfected using one single system. The system will look something like this. You know, it will have some lights that will let you know when the disinfectant will come to your hands. it will still have the air blade system to dry your hands. And then the timing, well, we believe now more than ever, it's a great time for this product because hands and general hygiene are crucial nowadays. We have also seen a great approach for green alternatives, and the markets for both hand dryers and sanitizing dispensing system is growing and expected to continue growing for the upcoming years. And the target market that we see, it's hand dryer manufacturers like Dyson, Mitsubishi, and others. And investors or licensing companies were mostly looking into patenting this technology other than developing the system ourselves. That's why we're planning on submitting a provisional patent for this and continue the process for the non-provisional patent and eventually license or sell the IP and probably get royalties from these from every unit sold. And also for this process, we would like to continue with the physical prototype. And that will be it from me. Thank you very much. Let me know if you have any more questions.
And can I ask, do I have the microphone? Is that correct?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Well, first, super clever idea. I was on a plane over the weekend, and I remember noticing how awkward it felt in an airport to have to stick my hand straight down in one of those machines. So it's a clever identification of a problem. I'm curious how you think through the value proposition to buyers. I might imagine that a hospital buyer might be very different in terms of their incentives compared with a restaurant or an airport. Who do you think this is most valuable to first?
Well, the intent of this project is to actually sell it to the manufacturers, right? But I think these units will be very, like you just mentioned, the airports. Some places where you're in a hurry to dry and disinfect your hands, because a lot of places already have both systems. You can dry your hands and go to the next station to disinfect them. But if you're in a hurry, you'll probably won't do it, or you just move on and continue walking, right? But if you have everything in one single system, you can guarantee that you're gonna dry your hands and disinfect them at the same time, in the same step.
And another question, sometimes when you integrate features, it's usually not 50-50 split between difficulty. And I'm wondering if you think about an improved interface for getting the hand drying and then having that disinfectant integrated, how much value would a system that only does the improved user experience leave the disinfectant aside? Would that be 50% as hard, 90% as hard, 10% as hard?
Well, no, probably will be to develop it. You mean?
Yeah.
I think it wouldn't make it wouldn't be that difficult because it's actually air blades positioned differently and incorporating the containment, right, for the water. So I think that shouldn't be a big deal. It's mostly in embedding the disinfectant, that something that will be able to be placed onto your hands before you leave, right?
Okay. I think just my 15-second feedback would be to think a lot about that assumption, because if you think about users who may not want disinfectant on their hands for whatever reason, think about the logistics of having to refill the disinfectant. It may be that you actually get 90% of the value proposition out of the system that does not have the disinfectant.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Very cool need to identify and a clever solution.
No, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, our next innovator. That was great, Luis. Thank you so much for sharing that idea. Our next innovator is Vianey Romo with the MCA.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here and we'll get ready to go. Alrighty, perfect. So, hi everyone, my name is Vianey Romo. As Emma mentioned, I am the workforce coordinator at the MCA Foundation, and today I'll be pitching the STEM Kids idea. Oopsie. Sorry, minor technical issues. Here we go. Working with a couple of different screens. Okay, so our problem is our STEM workforce shortage is at a crisis. Despite years of different initiatives of recruiting skilled workers or increased interest in STEM, which really stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, among our students here in the U.S., we are still seeing a huge crisis and not enough people going actually into the STEM workforce. So we want to go ahead and kind of change that problem. And we've especially seen it now in COVID when we've seen a loss of epidemiologists, medical scientists, biochemists, careers that people didn't think about in the previous years, but now has become a prominent career in this time. So something else that we want to mention here is that we are kind of hosting this problem here in the El Paso region where we are a Hispanic region. And if we look at the statistics coming from the STEM workforce, 8% of the STEM workforce is only represented by Hispanics. So we really do need to change that and kind of up our minority here in the STEM workforce. So our strategy really encompasses a couple of things, but the main problem is we want to bridge the gap in our STEM workforce and be able to create the resources for students to get a full-on grasp of what STEM really encompasses, not just in healthcare or computer science, but in the whole life sciences industry. Myself as a woman in STEM can factually say that growing up in an area, I didn't really have any of these resources and have any opportunities to fully understand and grasp what STEM really meant. So we're trying to really create this impact by impacting students at a middle school age, which is really a formative age in these kids' lives. This is when they have to learn what they want to be when they grow up and hopefully choose a path. So really exposing these kids at this age is vital for our program and our problem. So how are we going to solve it? We're going to create this thing called STEM Kits. We're going to create a very structured challenge to develop different challenges. So the kit's going to be filled with different various materials, including 3D printed items and the manual and challenges that we've been working with Fab Lab Juarez to work with. As you can see the sample there at the front, it's a kit designed to create awareness of natural disasters. So these kits will get 3D printed joints and structures and just simple materials that they can use as a building block to fix the certain challenge. So in this case, it would be how to create a solid structure that would be able to withstand different environments. So in this case, we'll have that one for natural disasters, but we're also creating three other kits that deal with different areas of life sciences like public health, community engagement, engineering, deforestation, public health, global warming. So all these different things. The manual that we're going to put in this STEM kit will include science concepts, objectives, and real-world issues, but also it'll teach these kids interpersonal skills that they're going to need to know when they grow up, including how to work with a team, how to think critically, how to think outside of the box to solve real-world issues that we see every single day. So we assume that this is going to be a very successful program because we've already launched something similar like this at the MCA Lab. So we've hosted these things called MCA STEM Innovation Lab Camps, where we bring in a class of middle school students. From 2019, we've hosted over 16 STEM camps. If we kind of cut down that COVID time, that cut away a lot of our exposure time, but we've seen over 400 students, 10 schools in 4 different school districts where we really impacted kids and taught them what they need to learn and what they need to be aware of in the life sciences industry, specifically medical device, clinical trial, and kind of get them that seed planted in their head to see, okay, when I grow up, maybe I want to go into this field. So bridging the workforce gap is going to be super important for the value in our community, where students are going to become a lot more aware of the higher education opportunities in the region, in the nation, and be able to really embrace what paths they want to take in their life, either only 4 years of school or 12 years of school, but have that knowledge. This is also going to create an opportunity for partnerships, for vital partnerships in our area with the K-12 education pipeline, through our community, through different organizations to really create that robust structure for all of our students to be able to get all this exposure. So my team includes myself, Alberto, who works here with the MCA, and then our team from Fab Lab Juarez, which includes Leticia, who's a coordinator, and Pablo, our manager. And we've all been working very great together and hopefully to get this out hopefully soon. And that is it. If you all have any questions, concerns, comments, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. One question is, I'm curious if you've worked with kids who might be disproportionately unlikely to have STEM introduced to them by other ways. You talked about the disparity between the population in STEM and the population where you live. I'm just curious if you've had any insights about how to specifically interest those kids.
Yeah, we've had quite an interesting group of kids every single year, and in every class. It really is a mix of kids who are really into STEM and who really like certain parts of science. And we have the kids who like have no interest. And really what we've noticed is that if you get them engaged with just a hands-on experiment or a hands-on activity, they tend to become a lot more integrated in that kind of idea of what they're learning, but it really has to be engaging with them, or else they really kind of don't care about it. So this is where the STEM kids come in handy, because they're giving them a challenge and essentially a competition at the end, because most kids are competitive. So hopefully giving them that opportunity will get them to hopefully grasp the idea of STEM better.
And do you see these being used more in the home or in the school?
I think it's going to be a little bit more in the school area, so they'll be able to have more of a challenge and competition towards it. But I do see it maybe in the future having like an actual kit that they can take home and hopefully build through this challenge, and maybe even do like a community challenge throughout and a competition.
Okay. And then what's the state? When I was a kid, I don't remember really having science classes in second or third grade.
Yeah.
What are they being taught, or what does education look like outside of those kits right now?
So really, I think right now, at least in my region in El Paso, they're really focusing on just kind of teaching them the basics. So what I've noticed in some of my classes that I've taught is that they know basic bio, basic chemistry, and very, very little physics in middle school. So what we want to kind of inform these kids of, that there is so much more. Specifically, when we talk about healthcare industry, these kids only know two things, which are not bad, but they only know physician and nurse, which is great professions to go into, but they're not aware of anything else. So really trying to get that awareness and being able to bring that to them and hands-on, and they get to see it in real life, and they get to do these challenges in real life, really hopefully will broaden their horizons and expand their mind about what they want to be. So we do want to enhance that curriculum that they're being taught right now.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So exciting, and it has been really awesome to see Vianey inspire so many youth in our STEM camps. Thanks, Vianey. Our next innovator is Arnold Chavira. Arnold, we're excited to hear from you.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. Let me share my screen. Share screen. And okay, are you able to see the PowerPoint there? Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna start. I can't see myself, but give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Just want to share it. Window. Okay, go ahead and put the presentation, please, because I don't see myself. Okay. So hello, my name is Arnold Chavira. I'm a registered nurse and the founder of the Lepsy Smart Seizure Alarm. We help families have peace of mind when their child with epilepsy sleeps at night. When leaving a child with epilepsy, one of the main stressors is the struggles at nights. Not sleeping and worried about your child might have an event that can lead to death. Next slide. The medical industry lacks devices that can alert parents at night when there is something starting to go wrong. There are options that are limited because the devices that are available alert parents when the seizure has already occurred. And then next slide. Case studies performed by continuous EEG monitoring have detected vital sign changes from the initial baseline with up to 20-minute delay. This eliminating the competitor's system design that alerts when the seizure is already in progress. These type of alarms create delays in the plan that should be executed to make the emergency have a successful outcome and not a fatal one. Next slide. What we offer is a sensor that is placed on the shell, which includes temperature, oxygen, and heart rate. This provides continuous monitoring on your smartphone. The parent will have access to see the actual vital signs at any time. The best part is the alarm settings can be adjusted depending on the child's age. Once the vital signs are out of range, it immediately gives an alert every 30 seconds so you address the alert. Giving time for the parent to go check on the child, call emergency services, and act to protect from a seizure. Next. At this point in time, we have developed a prototype which consists of a small computer with a sensor connected to the child, which has a program that sends all their information to an app. Our prototype is being tested to gain confidence and ensure we are on the right track. Once validated, the plan is to manufacture the units. Next. As a nurse, I've seen countless fatal events that have occurred and may have been prevented. Timing is very important, and every second counts. Not only does the monitor give peace of mind, but the parents are able to get better sleep. We would like to work with you to make this great product available to the market and help people that live with this terrible condition. Thank you for listening. Have a good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey, Ryan.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
A couple questions. So one thing I like to see for a lot of products is a first user group where the need is especially important. As an RN, you probably know who that group is, but I don't. So I wonder if you'd talk about that.
Mostly, well, it could work in many conditions. The one I'm focusing on is epilepsy, which seizure can occur at any time. So that's my group, the patients with a condition with epilepsy. In that case, they worry a lot at night because if they're asleep, they don't even get sleep because they're trying to monitor their child.
Okay.
But they have to be ready for this, and that's the group that I'm focusing on.
Okay, so to be more specific, so epilepsy kids within what age range?
I mean, from newborn all the way to 18 years old is what we're focusing the product on.
Okay, and you said at home use, obviously, yes, instead of in the hospital. Okay,
correct.
Okay, and then one of the difficulties with anything, it's like a sensor or tracking, as you talked about. There's like the idea of sensitivity, specificity, false positives, false negatives. I guess in particular here, if you're thinking about false positives, what do you think is an acceptable ratio of true positives to false positives just for the parents' well-being so they're not, panicking every few nights over a false event? Right.
I want to say we're still testing, but I want to say about 70 to 80% because almost 80% of the time, the vital signs change before an event occurs, up to 20 minutes before. So they have a 20-minute gap to go check on the child. Maybe it's nothing, but there's a possibility that they could stay alert for the next hour to monitor.
Okay, got it. And then how do you think about regulation for this? I believe the Owlet device recently had some issues with FDA over marketing claims. I'm curious what your strategy would be in terms of what you're claiming you can do or what you're not claiming.
Yeah, I think the main thing is I read about the Owlet. I know their disclaimer is to say that, of course, they can't prevent the event. They could just like kind of give you a heads up. But I did read about that, and that's their disclaimer, and I would be the same. Like it's not 100% preventing; it's just a heads up.
Okay, and then just final quick question is: how are you doing your first generation prototypes? How are you hacking that process? Since those can be pretty expensive.
It's not that bad. It's a Raspberry Pi, a small computer with a temperature sensor, and a pulse ox sensor. Most sensors like the Owlet doesn't measure temperature, so that's like the main thing that febrile seizures, which when you get a fever, you get a seizure. So a lot of sensors. There's no really a sensor with temperature. It's not that expensive.
Good. All right. Thank you, Arnold.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Ryan. Have a good evening.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I was muted. So I was just thanking Arnold, really important need there. And want to welcome Selena Padilla, our next Nurse Innovator.
Hi, good evening. Can you all hear me? I hope you can hear me. Yes, okay, great. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see my presentation? So my name is Selena Padilla. I'm a registered nurse. And in addition to being a nurse, I'm also a wife, mother, and now entrepreneur. And my app is called the Healthcare Hero Organizer, or H2O. Many of you may or may not know that after going through years of schooling, healthcare professionals are still required to sit before a credentialing board in their state of licensure. And once they pass their exam successfully and obtain their licensure, there's several requirements that they're expected to maintain outside of their employer. And so in addition to, taking care of patients, some of these healthcare professionals, like our nurses, physicians assistants, have to also maintain continuing education hours, as well as other types of certifications like CPR or BLS, ACLS, PELS. As I mentioned, their employer may assist with monitoring some of these credentials, but once they leave that employer, they're left to fend for themselves. So current state types of methods that are used are maybe USBs, thumb drives, paper records, laptops, PCs, a combination of all of them at times. And so it's very chaotic. The hope is that with this app that I'm hoping to develop, that you'd be able to access it. It would serve as like an electronic repository to house all of this, and it'd be accessible conveniently from the palm of your hand. So they'd be able just to take a snapshot, upload it. It would interface with their calendar that's on their device and give them reminders. It would also interface with, their home boards of licensure. So that would make it a consolidated, easily accessible, and low-cost option. There are millions of nurses currently in the United States, with over 500,000 in some of these compact states, as well as just here in the state of Texas. I'd love to start with our nurses only because that's my background, and so I'm very familiar with what all those requirements have. But of course, this could eventually be rolled out to other healthcare professionals. So the next steps would be working with our UI, UX designers, and also collaborating with an app developer. So the goal behind H2O, again, is for us to be able to help take care of your records so you can take care of what matters. Thank you.
Hi, Selena. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. Couple questions, and I know nothing about this space. So how often do you have to show these credentials or prove that you have them?
It varies, but for the most part, what we see is about every 2 years. And sometimes that varies in different states. The amount of continuing education hours may vary by state. So there's a lot of different dates to try to keep track of. I personally had to go back and provide extra documentation because of a lapse in renewal 1 year. So it's a personal issue that I can totally identify with. Okay,
and these records are typically in paper form, digital form, all the above?
Yes, it can be a combination. So if you, let's say, attend a symposium, they may give you a paper certificate demonstrating that you were there for 3 hours and got those continuing education hours. If you go to a website, they might give you an email with that certification sent to your email. But again, it just kind of, once you have that, it's like, okay, well, let me stick it in this file, or I'll scan it and upload it into my personal files. There's just varying ways, but if we could just kind of cloud-based, keep it housed all in one area. As you move employers, as things come up for renewal, you'd be able to, everybody uses their phones these days. And so you'd be able to access it all right there and send it to a new or potential new employer. It'd be a much more concise and convenient way to access that and maintain it.
And then between those once every 2 years requirements to show your documentation or your licensures, are you adding to that once every 6 months, every 3 months, every year? What's the frequency of? uploading information?
So ideally, when the user creates their profile and they indicate the state of their license, it would automatically filter in, okay, so you're licensed in the state of Texas, your continuing education requirement is 24 hours. How many hours have you completed? And you'd be able to upload. And as you're completing those hours and uploading your certifications, it's deducting that. So that by the time, 2 years from now, when it's coming time for you've got your pop-up reminder as you're nearing your renewal, and you get like a 90, 60, 30-day reminder. So at 90 days, hey, you're 3 months out from renewing. This is how many continuing education hours you have. Hey, you're 60 days out. This is how many hours you've got. And then by 30 days, 30 days away, and you still have 24 hours you haven't completed.
Got it. And then last question. Once you've got the apps on their phone, they're participating, are there other value propositions that you've thought about, once you have that user base?
Yeah, this is just the initial kind of thought process of making it a quick, like I said, digital repository for those credentials, but there'd be other things that would be kind of a benefit to healthcare providers, because really the goal and motivation behind this was to try to make things easier for our healthcare professionals. There's like health fitness type app benefits, in addition to reminders about renewals and those sorts of things. Hey, have you had your mammogram done? It's time for, we could include like step masters, water intake, Kegels, all of those things that, again, I think sometimes we neglect ourselves as healthcare professionals. I mean, we prioritize our patients, families, everybody else but ourselves sometimes. And so just including some of those types of things to it would be something to consider. But also, again, because it is housing information that's frequently requested by employers, potentially contracting with other employers, healthcare organizations, those sorts of things that our healthcare professionals would find handy to be able to share that information with.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Selena. Our next group of innovators it's actually a group. We have Dr. Debra Eardley, Dr. Connie DeBlieck, Dr. Kelly Krumwiede, and Dr. Linda Garner. So excited to hear. I think, Linda, you're going to present for your group.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, and
Okay.
welcome.
Okay. Well, my name is Dr. Linda Garner, and I'm presenting on behalf of my team tonight. We're a team of nursing educators from 4 different educational institutions, and collectively we have many years of nursing and teaching experience, and our specialty areas include both public health and nursing informatics. Our problem is that there is a big gap in products that are available to nurse educators that provide teaching tools that blend both public health scenarios, but also integrate nursing informatics content. And this is a big deal because using informatics has become an essential skill in the real world and when we provide care to our patients. So, in fact, many of the decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis are improved or enhanced by use of informatics. And while it's true that there are many educational products that provide content related to hospital-based acute care, there are very few that focus on specifically on public health nursing and informatics. So the end result is that new graduate nurses who enter the public health nursing workforce, they lack confidence and the skill set in using informatics, and they struggle with use of an electronic health record for documentation, and they really don't understand the decision-making support that informatics can provide. So our solution is to the problem is that we've created a product that we've developed that's specially designed to blend public health nursing content with informatics content. We created what we call e-learning modules, that use an interactive case study format. Throughout the module, students interact with clients that they would encounter in a community setting, such as a health department. Each module has an audio component that demonstrates a conversation between the nurse and the client, and students can hover over various icons on the screen to explore more information about the specific topic that's related to their client's diagnosis. They also can toggle on radio buttons to get more information by asking the client question. Students, they document their findings in an electronic health record, so they experience firsthand those benefits of recording their findings in a standardized format. Throughout the module, students have to make decisions about the client's needs and prioritize what action that they will take first. And if they choose a wrong action, or they struggle with identifying the most important action, they are given immediate feedback to correct their decision. The module ends with students completing a post-test to measure their mastery of the content, and they also have an opportunity to comment on what they liked most and what they liked least about the experience. We think that the timing is right for our product because it fills a niche where there is currently a big gap. Our product meets the needs of nurse educators who have so few materials of this kind accessible to them. The modules are easy to integrate into new or even already existing courses, so there's little, if any, hassle factor involved. Our product is standalone. It doesn't require expensive interfaces or updates. The modules are housed in a virtual library, so a simple link can be embedded in any LMS easily. And we feel it's a win for both educators and students because the e-learning modules provide an important bridge between public health nursing content and informatics content in a simple yet effective approach.
Thank you, Dr. Gardner. A few questions. Is the content of these sessions standardized across educators or in general, or are they highly customized?
It's a little bit of both. We certainly customize each scenario. We build in, for example, various cultural attributes of a client. But then as far as the content, what the nurse should do is based on what we call evidence-based guidelines. So that piece of it is standardized, yes.
Okay. And then I guess I'm thinking out loud here a bit. So there's an idea here that you could just create the content and sell the content or license the content or license access to it versus working fully with educators, you know, creating individual content per place. Can you help me understand where in between this lies so I can think a little bit more about scalability?
Yeah, we are currently using them, and kind of our most recent idea is that we would start a subscription service, and that subscription would then give access to the virtual library, and our part of the deal would be to update that library with a certain number of these modules every year, that sort of thing, so that the nurse educator could choose from the library whatever topics that are most relevant for their class at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what would be the revenue model?
We're leaning towards a subscription-based model, and that's one of the reasons that we joined this MCA project, is because this is where we're stuck.
Okay.
We don't really, we're not sure. We've got a couple of paths that we've considered, and honestly, we're kind of stuck.
Okay. I guess some of your options there, you know, is there a subscription per student, per unit time, per educator?
We could go either way. We've looked at both ways, and we kind of would like to have be able to offer both ways, that either the nurse educator, maybe that particular educator has access to funds that would pay for a subscription, but then we also know there are products out there to where the student bears the subscription fee. So we would like to we would consider both.
Okay, so I obviously don't know the answer. Just one way of approaching that problem might be on the cost structure on the customer side. How do they do their accounting? Are they thinking about cost per instructor, cost per student, so that they can tie that back to, kind of understand what the costs look like, versus what they have to gain from it?
Yes. Right now, we're in an environment where tuition and any sort of fees that a student incurs, there's just a hypersensitivity to that right now. And so we're kind of leaning towards, approaching more of nurse educators as the subscription, go that route. We've done some focus groups, finding the right price point, very important. But I would say that's probably the first, when we pilot this, that's probably the route we'll try first, is having nurse educators market to them and tap into their professional development funds or their funds within their department, so that they could then purchase a subscription for their course for the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your feedback.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, two areas that certainly accelerated during COVID were health tech and ed tech, and it seems like that's a great combination of the two. Thank you very much to the Pine team. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Adrian Ramos. Adrian, are you ready to present?
Hi everyone, I'm here. Give me a second, please. So I am Adrian Ramos. I am a licensed nurse in Juarez, Mexico, and I am a doctor too. I work in a hospital of gynecologists with a high grade of deliveries and C-sections. So I work with instrumental in the surgical area. What is the problem with this instrumental? Specifically here is the needle holder. This needle holder, with too many work, we use too much this needle holder, and it's a common problem, the wear of the ratchet. Here is the anatomy of this needle holder. The ratchet is a part more damaged. With this ratchet, the needle holder loses his form, as you can see in the picture. What is the problem with this? When you remove this instrumental, you increase the surgical time during the surgery and increase the cost for replacement. Next, please. So what is this wear of the ratchet? We have two forms to hold the ratchet. The original form and the natural form is here in the picture A. This is the normal. But when you are in an emergency C-section or delivery, you need to be more fast, and you hold in the form B, the picture B here, as you can see. This form, the B, it reduces the surgery time and increases the angle for suture, but it's harmful for the ratchet. Why is harmful? Because you need to push in with the thumb here, and you increase the pressure for the needle holder and lose his original form. Next, please. What is the solution for this? There are two ways to make it happen. The more critical is the ratchet. Here is the sketch. We have 3 levels for the ratchet. In the first 2, we have to increase the pressure of the needle holder, and the 3 is the last level. The needle holder is gonna be his original form. It's gonna open. So with this, you don't need to push in with the thumb, and you don't increase the push for the needle holder. And with this, you reduce the damage for the crank and the. I have problems with the internet. Okay, again, the solution. There are two ways to make it happen. The holder and the ratchet. The holder is in the form of the needle holder, the form, and the ratchet is the crank when you close the needle holder. There are 3 levels. The first and the second is gonna to hold the needle. The third level is gonna be to open the crank. So you need to push 1, push 2, and when you push 3, the needle holder is gonna be open. And this holder is gonna be adaptable to empiric emergency surgery. And so it's gonna be reduce the damage for the needle holder. Any questions?
Hi, Dr. Ramos.
Hi.
A couple of questions. Can you help me understand? Is the issue the wear, the mechanical wear of the ratchet over time? Is it the bending of the tool over time, or something else?
I can hear. Can you?
Can you hear me?
I have little problems. It cuts.
Okay. Okay.
Can,
I was asking about the teeth on the ratchet. Do those wear over time? Is that the problem that you are trying to solve?
Oh, okay. As well, we have 2 problems. One is the ratchet. The ratchet is a crank. It closes the needle holder, but when you push in more, with more force of the is necessary, you deform the needle holder. So
Yeah.
you push in, you you move the shank. Is the part we have to maintain. So when you resolve the crank, the needle holder with this mechanism that you don't need to push in, the mechanism is more too low and it's gonna open only itself. And with this, we reduce the damage and we resolve the ratchet. The other problem is when you use this technique. When I say the B form, to hold here this from the needle holder, you don't need to push in the rings. You can hold in this form. With these 2 forms, the ratchet is gonna be good, and there is not gonna be a extensive damage for the needle holder.
Okay. And have you built a prototype?
Yeah, I have 5 prototypes, but it's in a sketch. But I'm working with an industrial designer, and it's I don't know how to say
I can help with
the rights. Okay. Estoy trabajando con un diseñador industrial y me pidió que todavía no los muestre. Nada más me dejó mostrar el ratchet.
So he's working with an industrial designer who doesn't want him to share the prototypes yet. So he's only sharing pieces, and so I think they have some protection they need to do with their IP before they share with one.
Got it. Okay, great. And then just one question. So I have not seen or felt the device, so I have can't say I love it or can't say I hate it. One thing I noticed is that it resembles the old device. At least it looks like the old device when you zoom out. What are the pros and cons of having something that still resembles the tool that physicians are used to versus starting from scratch on a tool for holding needles that might be more suited to that task?
No lo entendí muy bien.
Bueno, está preguntando de que hay más beneficio de empezar con con algo que parece el viejo ¿O sería mejor empezar con algo totalmente diferente que está más disponible a las cosas más nuevas?
Okay. We started with the original form, but we mezclar, ¿cómo se digo?
They mixed? You mixed?
Yeah, we mix too many instrumental, but the original form is what's considered at first, and we have these 5 prototypes.
So,
I think I caught that. Yeah, I think I caught that.
I think he was saying that he started with one with the original design, but they have 5 different prototypes that have evolved from that original design.
Great. Okay, I think my just last note of encouragement would be to be open to both possibilities, that you design a better version of that tool, or that you understand the flaws of that tool so well that you actually design an entirely different tool that the world needs.
Pero repetir es más corto.
Sí, claro, que te surgiera probar dos diferentes. Primero, entender muy bien el aparato viejo. Si lo vas a mejorar, lo tienes que entender muy bien y cómo se mejora. Si no, tienes que empezar con una idea completamente diferente que hace lo mismo.
Ok. Pues sí es una, ¿cómo decirlo? Pues sí es una idea original que nos va a resolver problemas, pero no sé cómo lo explico. Vamos a probarlo, o sea, sí va a resolver un problema esto porque es por ejemplo, aquí utilizamos mucho el instrumental, tenemos 20 partos por día, el instrumental sufre mucho desgaste, me he dado cuenta con eso, al utilizarlo. Con esta nueva forma, pues, que vamos a implementar, se va a resolver el desgaste de este instrumental. No más por el puro mecanismo, ya lleva mucha ventaja sobre el instrumental actual. Y vamos a tratar de implementarlo en más pinzas.
So they're using the instrument about 20 times per day, and so it's getting a lot of wear and tear. But I think he's saying that it's very commonly used, so it might be difficult to change the mechanism of use because they're so used to using it. But they are trying to improve it. But I'll wrap around with Dr. Ramos and make sure that he's understanding well what you're suggesting the approach should be to different ideas on resolving the problem.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Ramos.
Thank you.
Gracias. Wonderful. Well, that brings our demo day to an end. I want to thank very much again all of our nurse innovators and also Ryan Pierce for participating in our first Nurse Innovator Demo Day, which, as you can see, this is an early stage of the process with our nurse innovators, and we hope to continue supporting them along their journey. I also want to thank our summit sponsors, RexMed, Workforce Solutions Borderplex, and VWR. Now, moving on to tomorrow. We have a big day tomorrow, and I hope that you'll log on to join us. We have 4 timely and interesting panel sessions and world-class speakers, so you won't want to miss this. At 9 a.m., we have a panel on COVID-19 pandemic response, the impact of binational manufacturing and lessons learned. At 10:30 a.m., and all of this is in Mountain Time, we have a panel on creating sustainable supply chains on the US-Mexico border. At noon, we have a panel on digital transformation of medical device manufacturing, industrial applications of immersive technologies in highly regulated industries. And at 1:30, the future of medtech, innovation and acceleration. And for those of you who are actually in the El Paso Juarez region, I hope that you can make plans to join us tomorrow evening from 5 to 7 p.m. In Ciudad Juarez. We are having a reception and tour of the newly inaugurated CITA, the Centro de Innovación y Integración de Tecnologías Avanzadas, the Center of Innovation and Integration of Advanced Technologies. We're really excited to have this resource in our region, and hopefully we can partner with them and see them flourish and grow. But again, thank you all very much. We're ending a little early tonight, so giving you back about 10 minutes of your night. We hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks for your participation. Have a good night.